you got to figure a way out. And that is the one reason I love all these kids who are hustling, who are resellers, who are figuring a way out so that the money is not coming out of their father's pocket, but it's coming out of their pocket.
Hi, welcome to Velvet in Fashion. I'm Mitali Gangnani.
Hi, I'm Rahul Agarwal.
In today's podcast, we have the multi-talented, most influential Mr. Mihir Joshi. Mihir is one of the most popular person in the sneaker world.
Let me start a question with you. That how did your journey start? Means like you were RJ, then you were into music, then this sneaker and commentary. You were doing commentary for last 18 years.
Well, I've been in the music business for the last 18 years. I've been doing commentary for about 5 years. In fact, in April this year, I'll complete 5 years as a WWE commentator. My journey began with radio. Actually, in 2003, I graduated as an electronics engineer, but I knew very clearly that my path was not in the corporate world. In fact, even in my 4 years of engineering, I used to be the lead singer of my college band. So I knew that I wanted to do something with music. Given the option, I would just be an English music singer. That's the one thing I love more than anything else. But in India, I knew very clearly the moment I finished my engineering here, I'm not going to have a career in English music. There is no realistic career in at least back then it wasn't. Now things are changing. There are enough artists who are making and putting out great English music. Back then it wasn't. So I said, okay, what do I do so that I can continue singing in English, but at the same time have a career doing things that I love? So while I've done many things, like you said, radio, television, anchoring events, my talk show, a podcast, WWE commentary, I always simplified by saying that I've used my voice for a living for the last 18 years. So my journey began in radio, where I spent about 8 years. And one of the things I wanted to do is, while I couldn't be singing and performing as much as I wanted to, I also wanted to support the artists who were performing. So while I was in radio, I started interviewing artists. I was one of the first people interviewing English bands on radio. I started getting non-Bollywood people on my show. So in my 8 years of radio, I had interviewed over 500 artists. And then I realized that, hey, you know what? I'm creating great content. I am having these amazing conversations, but only people in Mumbai, because FM radio only goes to your own city. So only people in Mumbai were listening to it. And suppose my show was at 4 o'clock and you didn't catch it at 4 o'clock. There's no way for you to come back and listen to it.
At that time, there was no YouTube and podcast
radio channels were not putting up content that they were doing in their radio station, on their YouTube channel or on their Facebook page. So I said, you know what, I don't want that. I want my conversations to stay for longevity. Like what we are doing right now can be heard by somebody 50 years from now, because it's got to be there on Spotify, it's got to be there on YouTube, it's got to be there everywhere. But if you were doing this on radio, nobody would hear it tomorrow also. If you guys were radio jockeys and I was on your channel, I mean, not in today's radio, because today's radio, they are capturing everything, putting it up on social media. But back then, there was no such thing. So I said, you know what? Let me move from radio. And I was one of the first people who started doing a talk show on YouTube. So technically, it is what people now call podcasts, but I was doing a podcast before the word podcast was a commonplace thing. So I just called it a talk show, and I still call it a talk show. That's how the MJ show began. And while doing that, I started interviewing more artists and singers. And of course, during all of this, I had my own band. I was performing. We put out our debut album in 2014. It was called Mumbai Blues by the Mihir Joshi band. In 2015, we won the GMA Award for Best Rock Album for that album. So, as a musician, I was satisfied. I was getting to do what I love. Perform places like Hard Rock Cafe and everywhere all across the country, sing in English. But at the same time, I was able to do other things to support my family. So whether it's anchoring events, whether it's my talk show, whether it's doing Hindi commentary, which like I said, I started doing 5 years ago, hosting a ton of events for brands all across the country. So all of those things also gave me a tremendous amount of joy. But at the same time, I was able to do my English music as well. So that was my journey, and it's been very interesting how over the last 2 years I've started creating a lot of content around sneakers. So having done so many things, I think one of the coolest things that I'm currently doing, which is also why we are having this conversation today, is my love for sneakers.
So as you were saying, you had done 31 days for sneakers.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
So how was that experience?
Well, to tell you guys what exactly he's speaking about before we started shooting, I was just telling him that in the month of January this year, I decided I'm going to start a series on Instagram called 31 Days of Jordan 1s. So of all the sneakers in my collection, my favorites are my Jordan 1s. That's the reason, that's one of the things that I collect more than anything else. So since I had crossed 31 pairs, I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to pick 31 out of my 34 and create a photo series where I'm wearing a different pair of Jordan 1s and a different fit with it every day, and putting out one photo at least a day on my Sneakerverse handle. It's called the Sneakerverse. On that, I did it and I managed to keep my consistency, and I put up 31 photos, and that was a lot of fun. And that kind of also leads into, like I said, my favorite sneaker from my collection, as in my favorite silhouette from my collection, is the Air Jordan 1 High. So, I absolutely love that, and it was a thrill to be able to do something like that, because honestly speaking, even if you had asked me 3 years ago, I didn't have a single pair of Air Jordan 1s. So I would not have thought that I would be able to do a series in which I could put 31 Air Jordan 1 high pictures, styled with different fits, different looks, every day for a month. So that was fun.
Cool.
Okay, so as you said that you did anchoring and so much of stuff to support your family as well.
Yeah.
So how did you got into sneakers? Like, what got into your mind that you are such a sneakerhead today?
Well, it's a funny story because when I began in the music industry, for me, looking good on stage or when I'm performing was always very important. I wanted to be presentable. I always had a style sense about myself. I would buy good shoes, but I wouldn't buy them from the perspective of being a sneaker collector. I would buy them from the perspective of, okay, in this year I need one good pair of sports shoes. I need one good pair of leather shoes. I need something, I'd have, most normal people, I would have maybe 5 pairs of shoes in a year, which, you rotate and wear in different occasions. But what happened about 2 years ago, or about 2.5 years ago, is, this lockdown situation happened. Everybody's sitting at home. There were no events, not going out anywhere. And in this situation, I happened to watch the Last Dance documentary on Netflix, a documentary of 10 parts about the life and the journey of Michael Jordan. And while I was watching that, I think it's in the first or second part itself, I realized that when he talked about the history of the Air Jordan 1 and how the Jordan brand kind of began, how he signed up with Nike, and this colossal brand which is supporting thousands of stores and thousands of resellers and millions of collectors buying these sneakers, and this made Michael Jordan a billionaire. I realized man, I'm almost 40 years old. And I don't have a single pair of Air Jordan 1s. And I'd always seen them in pop culture because I watch a lot of stuff. I read a lot of comic books. I'm into superheroes and all of that. And I've always seen Jordan 1s, but I never got them because you could not find them in stores easily until a few years ago. And when I'd gone, I never really paid attention and went to buy a Jordan 1. I was like, okay, fine. I had a function in mind. Okay, I need a running shoe. I'll go into a store and buy a good running shoe. I want a leather shoe. I'd go in and buy a leather shoe. But I never thought of getting a Jordan 1. And when I saw that documentary and I realized how cool those sneakers are, what stories they tell, the fact that so many things that I love have had Jordan 1s in the storytelling, I realized, I need to get my first pair. And that began the journey. So with that first pair of Jordan 1s that I got, since then I've not stopped looking. And I think in the last, I'd say about 2 years, I've landed up collecting close to about 70 something sneakers.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So in one of your interviews, you said when I was a kid, I was looking up to Michael Jackson, and now it's Michael Jordan. So
yeah. It's interesting. The reason I said that, or I used to feel really excited about that, is like I said, my main thing has always been music. I've been a singer, and thinking about the fact that my initials are the same as Michael Jackson's gave me a ton of thrill in my teenage years, because I used to love his music. I used to love his performance ability. How he was as a performer on stage was something I'm not a dancer, but I love the confidence that he exuded. So for me, Freddie Mercury, Michael Jackson, and Elvis Presley were my 3 biggest influences as a performer. My style of singing is different from all 3 of them. I do sing rock. I do like the kind of music that kind of falls in the realm of their music. I do a lot of Elvis songs also. But as a performer, I was inspired by all three of them with the kind of confidence that they had, the kind of connection that they had with an audience, and that's why. And of all the three of them, I think Michael Jackson fell into my time. As in, like when I was a teenager, he was actively performing. I remember when Bad came out. I remember when Dangerous came out. I was a teenager back then. Kind of lets you know how old I am as well now. But yeah, so that's the reason I loved Michael Jackson. I mean, he was a superstar singer when I was a teenager. So Freddie Mercury was a little before that. Elvis Presley was much before that. But I loved all three of them. So it gave me a lot of thrill to know that MJ are my initials and his. And then like I said, I've always loved basketball. I used to play basketball during college. But again, the NBA wasn't on television that often, or if they showed stuff, it would just be like highlights or whatever. I don't think they were showing NBA as a sport on television when I was a kid. And I was at least lucky that one of the things which I've made a career out of, which is WWE, has been shown on Indian television for almost 25 something years. And I've been a fan of WWE for over 25 years, and I've been working with the brand since WrestleMania 30. We're going to come to WrestleMania 38 right now. So I've been working with them for nearly 8 to 9 years. That's something I could watch on television, but I couldn't watch NBA. So I wasn't really following. Technically I was born in 81 and Michael Jordan began in 85. So I could have watched, if we were living in America, I would have probably watched him as I grew up. I didn't get to do that. But once I fell in love with sneakers, I went deeper and deeper and deeper into the history, into the stories of Michael Jordan. I started watching a lot of YouTube content. I started watching a lot of his old games and documentaries about him. People, other sports people talking about him. And I just realized that this is such an inspirational, brilliant man. And I've always gravitated towards people like that. People who lift up, their sport, who lift up the community, who make people, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about this, who lift up the people that watch them. Whether it's somebody like a Michael Jordan, whether it's somebody like a Sachin Tendulkar, whether it's a Roger Federer or a Tiger Woods, who transcended their sport. Like in today's world, I would say LeBron James. They transcend the sport, and even if you don't know that sport, you know that person. You know that he's inspirational. He's the reason his team did really well. They won championships. People were inspired by him. People want to be like him. Be like Mike was such a popular campaign for Jordan sneakers as well. So that's the reason I loved Michael Jordan, and I loved anyway, loved basketball. So, now when you think about it, and now that I'm a sneaker collector, again, to know that I share initials with Michael Jordan, it's a big thrill. So, in fact, I got one of my Jordan 1s. I had a brotherhood Jordan 1, which I got customized by a fabulous artist from Bangalore called Seraphim. So I love the Chicago silhouette, which is red, white, and black. So, and I love yellow. Everybody knows. I keep talking about how much I love yellow. So instead of red, where the red colorway should be, I got it done in yellow. And I have my logo with my MJ logo at the back of it. You guys can see it on the screen right now. That sneaker I call Bombay. I call it Air Jordan Bombay because that's Chicago, this is Bombay. And there's a reason I call Bombay also. Just as a fun homework thing, you guys should just Google Mihir, Joshi and Bombay. You'll see there was this ridiculous controversy that happened around a song of mine, which had got nothing to do with Bombay, but the censor board had removed the word Bombay from a song of mine, and I was talking about it. Everybody, everywhere. They just blurred because screen pe mere Bombay dikh raha tha, they just blurred out Bombay. And when I sang that song, the 6-minute song, just where Bombay comes for like literally the amount of time it takes to say Bombay. When the video played on television, they made us mute the word Bombay. So it was a fun controversy to just help people discover my song. And anyhow, so I decided to call it Bombay and not Mumbai. Though I love Mumbai, I always say I live in Mumbai, but just for kicks, I've called that sneaker the MJ1, the Air Jordan 1 Bombay, MJ Bombay. So but the thing is, I love the fact that my initials and Michael Jordan's initials are the same. So even when I put my logo on it, it's still a MJ shoe at the end of the day. It's just not Michael Jordan, it's Mihir Joshi.
Cool, that one.
That's great.
I was asking how music connected you to the pop culture, like streetwears and everything.
Right.
So how was your music and streetwear connection?
Honestly speaking, in India, the connection between music and streetwear is not that strong, because until a few years ago, I think this is exactly what happened in the US as well. hip hop as a music form connected kids to streetwear, to sneakers, to the culture, as they call it, street culture in America. And I'm beginning to see that happening here in India over the last few years. When I see young rappers like MC Altaf, there's D-Will, there's Sharul, young and experienced rappers, and even the new kids who are coming out, everybody wants to wear good clothes. Everybody wants to, look good, have drip, wear chains, wear good sneakers. And what happens is when fans of that art form, that music form, see their favorite rappers, their favorite artists wear a certain kind of attire, they want to emulate that. They want to wear clothes like that. So that's how music influences streetwear and street culture and sneakers. In India, I think again, hip hop is the reason why that is happening. Because most often when you think about rock bands and rock music, which is what I was in, people are generally wearing what I'm wearing right now. A black t-shirt, you'd probably be wearing
a leather jacket.
And there'd be a leather jacket, there'd be like leather shoes. They wouldn't be sneakers as such, because the look was supposed to be a little more, hardcore. A little cooler and whatever. And I don't know if it's cooler or not, but the point is it was hot as hell in Mumbai. Wearing a leather jacket was dumb, but I did it on stage because it looked good. And I always believe that, by the way. Fashion isn't supposed to be comfortable. It is a little uncomfortable. You gotta feel hot. But to be fair, for this podcast, though I brought a beautiful hoodie here with me, I decided there's no way in hell I'm wearing it, because in Mumbai it's ridiculously hot, and I compliment him to sit through this with like a, I think it's like a suede jacket.
Yeah.
God damn, man, that's hot. But yeah, the point is
everything is fashion right now. Just you need to pull off.
You gotta like, I'm sure when women wear high heels and walk all day, it's not the most comfortable thing, but you do it because it looks good, right? So that's what fashion is. So for me, I don't think rock music has influenced street culture that much. That being said, there were a lot of rockers in the 80s who wore Jordan 1s.
Yeah.
Slash, the guys from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea, Anthony Kiedis. There were a lot of rappers. Even today, John Mayer is a big sneakerhead. So there are enough musicians who are in my music space who do wear good sneakers. But nobody really paid attention to their sneakers until maybe these last few years, where people have begun to realize, like, oh man, all those guys were wearing Jordans. All those guys were wearing cool sneakers, because everybody was more interested in their music and in their singing more than what sneakers.
Like you do fashion or something.
Yeah, that being said, one of my favorite Jordan 1s is a Jordan 1 called the Air Jordan 1 Defiant, and that was inspired by the 80s rock music scene. So if you look at the sneaker, again, it'll be up on the screen. There are, out of the 4 swooshes that are there, the Nike swooshes, 3 of them look like they have been ripped out. There are little threads coming out, and the only swoosh which is actually there is yellow in color. So the yellow was representative of the great artwork that was there in rock music albums, the cover of the albums. That is before everything was released digitally. There were actually CDs and LPs for the young people watching. That is how people heard music back in the day. सब कुछ YouTube पे free नहीं मिलता था. People bought music. So those album covers were beautiful and bright, and so that yellow is representative of that. And the stitching which comes out is like when they wore leather jackets and they would wear patches on it. So suppose एक patch अगर बाहर आ जाए, if you rip out a patch, there are those little threads which remain. So those threads were representative of the 3 other swooshes which have been ripped out. It's a very cool sneaker, and it's black and white. It's the kind of sneaker that if I had the opportunity of buying Jordans when I was performing rock music, man, I would be wearing that sneaker every day at every concert, and I love that. That's one of my favorite sneakers in my collection.
So I think like you were telling, before 30 you didn't wear any Jordans or you didn't have any sneakers like this. So when you started copying them, then how did you get the idea what is original, fake? Like there are multiple copyings are also coming up right now.
Yeah.
How you make that differences?
So this is a question I get asked quite often, even on social media. Especially from people who are non-sneakerheads who want to start collecting sneakers. So I always tell them that you have to be careful about things, because the moment something starts becoming popular, it starts getting ripped off. You get fakes, you get UAs, you get these replicas, you get these first copies. So if you don't want, and you know what, if you've been told that it's a copy, and instead of buying it at a retail price of 14,000, they're actually selling it to you at $2,000, it's a copy. And you choose to make that decision that, I'm okay spending just $2,000, I don't want to spend 14. cool, you're not being cheated at least. You bought a copy and you know that it is a copy. But for most people who want to become sneakerheads, they don't want to buy copies. They want to buy originals. And if somebody sells you a copy pretending that it is an original, then you're basically getting cheated out of a lot of money. So something which is worth on a higher side, 1,000 or 2,000 bucks, you probably spent about 15, 20, 30,000 rupees because some of the more expensive sneakers, their copies are ultimately going to be about 1,000, 2,000 bucks only. But the market value of that could be maybe 30, 40,000 rupees. And they try to sell you something like that. That's when you get really scammed. So the way to avoid that is to buy from either authentic sources. In India, there are 4 retailers for Nike, for instance, if we talk about it. One is the Nike website, where you wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock and get your alarm ready. Try to cop it. Yeah, everybody does that. Try to cop at 7:30 if you're lucky. Then after a week or so, from Singapore, you'll get your sneaker at your home. There's Super Kicks, there's Veg Non-Veg, and now thanks to Anand Ahuja, some of the Rise India Nike stores, the bigger flagship Nike stores, also have good sneakers that are dropped. Not every sneaker, but a lot of good sneakers get dropped over there as well. So these are the 4 authentic ways to buy Nike sneakers or Jordans. For Adidas also, now nobody's going to be worried about Yeezys, or at least for a little while. But yeah, when Yeezys were dropping, it was either the Adidas store, again, Super Kicks or Veg Non-Veg, and the Adidas website, the India website. So if you get from any of these sources, you know for a fact that you got a legitimate pair. You don't have to worry. You got it with a bill, and you got like a proper Nike bag or a Veg Non-Veg bag, so you know it's legit. But for 90% of the people, you are probably going to land up buying from a reseller. Most of these resellers are either on Instagram, or some of them have become big enough where they've started their own portals like a Soul Search, a Hype Rhino, or they have their own physical stores like a Crep Crew. There's Main Street, there's Free Society, there's Le Baskets in Bangalore, there's North Street. A whole bunch of stores have started coming up where there are, and High on Kicks here in Mumbai, who've got their own physical brick and mortar stores where you can walk in, look at a sneaker, but you're not going to be buying it at retail. You know for a fact that you're walking in and you're going to be buying it at resale. Again, with all of these stores, there is legitimacy because they don't want to cheat anybody. They don't want to sell you fake sneakers. So if you're buying from any of these bigger resellers, you know for a fact that you're going to get authentic pairs. Even the guys on Instagram, look at the people who've got a big enough following. Look at their references post. Everybody has learned. It's like a given thing that if you're going to be a reseller on Instagram, you have to have a reference post. 9 times out of 10, it's a pinned post right up front. They want people to get that confidence. Even if they don't have a physical store, if you read the references, you should feel like, I know Aditya Bhalla. Oh, he's bought from here, so Aditya is legit. If he's bought, that means this must be like, Mihir Joshi has bought from here. Ahana Sharma has. So you know the influencers in the sneaker space. If we have bought from these guys and we've written a comment saying this was a smooth transaction, we had a great time buying from them, you know that they are legit and you can buy from them. Or you just have to take a risk, and ideally don't take a risk. Go through all of these things. In fact, on my Sneakerverse handle, what I've been doing is to support young resellers, people who are starting out. I tell them, you can tag the Sneakerverse, I'll share the story so that people can buy from you. I don't take a commission, I don't charge anybody for anything. This is just my way of supporting the sneaker community and giving them a platform where they can showcase their sneakers for free to a lot of people. I make it a point to do my research before sharing anybody's stories. I check up, I ask them to give me 3 references. Can you tell me 3 people who 3 resellers who bought from you, 3 people who can vouch for you and say ki bhai tum legit ho, you are actually selling legit pairs. I do whatever I can, but I'm not a store, I'm not a business, I'm not running it as a business. So the first thing I've written in my bio over there is, do your own due diligence before buying a sneaker from these guys. So that's my way of telling you that yes, I have kind of verified them, but before you buy, before you spend money, please talk to them, get all the information you need. Unless, like I said, it's one of those big guys, please do your due diligence. Don't listen to anybody else. Be convinced that your money that you're spending. So this is what I always say. It's a difficult game now to get sneakers, but it's not impossible. Yeah. There are enough legitimate sources from whom you can buy. Maybe you will spend 1,000 rupees more there. Maybe
but you're getting a legitimate pair.
Yeah, you are getting a legitimate pair. So if you want peace of mind, buy from your top resellers. who either have stores or who have their own portals and or who are big. So like in Mumbai, there is City Cakes, there is Garden Cakes in Delhi, there is Kika Stuff in Mumbai. So all of these resellers have been selling for a long enough time. They've got 5,000-10,000 followers. So you know that these guys are legit. Like Delhi Cakes in Delhi. All of these guys have been selling for a long enough time, but they are not bothered about trying to get you a fake pair. They are not bothered. Their reputation now in the market is so strong, they will not try to sell fake pairs. So either you buy from these reputed bigger reseller, or if you got to take that risk and try to save like $1,000 or $2,000, then there is that risk factor. So in that case, what you can ask, especially if you're buying a rare pair, ask them to give you an LC, as it is called, a legitimacy certificate. There are enough apps when the sneaker comes. If you still want to check, take those photos that the app asks you to do, upload those photos. If you get a failed report, instantly reach out to the seller and tell him, hey, sometimes the sellers also don't know that they've been sold a fake pair, because they are not producing the pairs out of thin air. Somebody has sold it to them. Maybe they've sourced it from somebody else, and that person has sold them a fake pair. So try to resolve things. This is an expensive hobby. And this is an expensive collection to create and curate. So if you're going to spend your money, please spend it intelligently, spend it wisely, is the advice I give anybody who wants to get into sneaker collecting.
So yeah, now you mentioned that Anand Ahuja has opened few Nike stores in Mumbai. So earlier this day we were talking about him, like how he has opened, how he has done things, which led to like Air Jordan, the story behind Air Jordan 1 and all. So how does your sneakers inspire you? Like, what's your choice of purchasing a particular pair?
Okay, so to expound on that question, I also answer the question of when people ask me what should I buy, what do I say? And in my answer, you'll also get the answer of what I personally buy. So the first thing I tell anybody who wants to be a sneakerhead is, look at a sneaker, either in hand or on social media, and imagine it on your feet. I am not talking about the people who are wanting to collect sneakers to sell, who are looking at themselves as resellers. But if you want to be a collector, if you said, I want to start my collection, what should I get? My answer to you always will be, get something that you will love. Forget the hype. Forget whether it will resell for a higher price. Because if you are buying it to wear it, you're not bothered about, after I've worn it 2 times, if I sell it, will I make a profit? You are buying it from the perspective of, oh man, this is going to be my sneaker. It's my identity, it's my personality, and it's going to look great on my feet. And I'm going to be wearing the heck out of it. I'm going to be wearing it until it breaks up into pieces. And that's what I want to do with this sneaker. I'm at least going to wear it until I'm absolutely satisfied that I had a great time with this sneaker. At the end of that journey, if you choose to sell that sneaker, because that's something that that I'm not even saying it's a reseller mentality, it's a collector mentality. As a collector also, you want to be able to recycle your collection from time to time. So if you sell a sneaker, that doesn't make a collector a reseller. The collector is selling it just so that he can add more to his collection. Also from the perspective of space. We live in a city like Mumbai. So unlike our friends who live in a city like Delhi and all that, we don't have infinite space. So in Mumbai, छोटे-छोटे घर रहते हैं, वहाँ पे इतनी जगह रहती है, your mother, your wife will tell you कि इतने जगह में जितने sneakers आएंगे उतने ही रखने हैं. So you land up recycling your sneaker. Maybe you think, okay, I've worn this for a long enough time, I'll sell it, whether it's at a profit or not, I'll sell it, I'll make some money out of that and buy my next sneaker. So for me, I always buy sneakers that I will love, that I will wear. Fortunately, I've not had to sell too many of my sneakers, but sometimes, I feel like, okay, if a sneaker comes in, it looks great, but it doesn't fit me well. I'm not going to try to squeeze my foot into it. Like maybe, even if, say, for instance, I'm a UK 9, it's not necessary that every silhouette fits perfectly for a UK 9. Like Air Jordan 1s fit perfect. But if I go for an Air Jordan 11 or an Air Jordan 4, UK 9 doesn't work for me. I actually need a 9.5 because the shape of the sneaker is a little tighter. So there have been times where I bought sneakers which I realized I'm not going to land up wearing. So I sell those. But I buy sneakers only when I love a particular sneaker. Something about that sneaker, maybe just how it looks, maybe the story involved with it, especially with Jordan, there's great history to some of these sneakers. There's something about that sneaker that speaks to me and says that, hey man, this is something that you will resonate with. That's when I buy a sneaker.
Yeah, so as you said that sometimes when a footwear is not fitting you properly, you don't take it. Yeah. But that's how fashion works.
I agree. But that being said, with sneakers, fortunately, you have options of size. So my thing is, for instance, like I said, a Jordan 4 or a Jordan 11, if I could have got a 9.5, I would have definitely bought it. But unfortunately, in India, you don't get 0.5 sizes. So the only chance of getting a 0.5 size is if you are actually copying it on the Nike website. Or if some reseller in the city has bought it at 9.5, in the country has bought it at 9.5, and maybe you sell your 9 and you get a 9.5, and then you can add that sneaker to your collection. But otherwise, my logic is, if I have almost 60 to 70 sneakers and 99% of them fit me nicely, if that one new sneaker that comes in does not fit me nicely, I would rather give it up and get either that half size bigger and wear it then, or I just think that this one's not meant for me. There's always a new sneaker coming out next week, there's another coming out next month. End up buying something. So I learned from that okay, if this Jordan 4 didn't fit me in a UK 9, the next time when I want to buy a Jordan 4, I'll get a 9.5. That's the way I look at it. But I get your point completely. Sometimes it's not comfortable. Honestly speaking, Jordan 1s, though they fit me nicely, they are not comfortable shoes. For everybody watching, if you've not bought a Jordan 1, recognize this. This is 1985 ka technology. This is not 2023 ka technology. If you buy a sneaker which is made in 2023, it's almost like you are in an aeroplane. And if you're buying a 1985 sneaker, you are, if not a Belgadi, you are in a auto rickshaw. So the comfort is going to be auto rickshaw versus an aeroplane. So don't expect Jordan 1s to be comfortable. But they look great. And you got to do things, and they speak to me. Like I said, when I wear a Jordan 1, I feel this is Mihir Joshi style. Of all the sneakers that I have, Jordan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, a few Nike sneakers, a few Adidas sneakers, of everything that I have, the one silhouette that speaks to me when I look at my photos, when I look at myself in the mirror, hey, that's Mihir Joshi style. That's why I buy Jordan 1s. That's the reason you should be buying sneakers, not because they're extremely comfortable, which is not a bad idea. If you get comfortable sneakers, that's great. But like you said, sometimes a little bit of discomfort is okay if the style resonates with you. Exactly. And that's my style.
अच्छा, तो सर मैं एक चीज पूछना चाह रहा था आपसे, जैसे कुछ अभी बच्चे हैं फ्रॉम कॉलेज स्कूल जो पास आउट हो रहे हैं जो है, और ये स्नीकर का भी कल्चर बन गया है, ट्रेंड बन गया है, ये ट्रेंड बन गया है, तो दे डोंट थिंक अबाउट द मनी एंड ऑल. वो अपने पेरेंट्स को फोर्स करते हैं, ये करते हैं कि नहीं हमें ये स्नीकर चाहिए, वो चाहिए. वो समझ नहीं रहे कि ये किस लेवल की मार्केट है, क्या है. सो व्हाट्स योर थॉट अपॉन दैट?
I have always said कि यार अगर आप कुछ भी कलेक्ट करते हो, you should do it responsibly. What I mean by that, while I've been collecting sneakers for just about 2 to 3 years, I've been a collector for over 20 years. For over 2 decades, I've been collecting various cool things. And unfortunately, all cool things are generally expensive. So I collect comics, I collect statues, I collect music, and I collect movies. So when I say movies, I collect Blu-rays. You may think कि अरे यार movies तो सारे anyway अपने OTT platforms पे आ जाते हैं. But if I like a movie, I go out and buy the Blu-ray because I want that physical presence of that movie in my house, in my collection. So I have always followed one rule. I will never buy something which I don't genuinely love. In my comics, in my statues, in my music, and in my movies, and now in my sneakers, I buy things what I love. And I will never buy it if it is a burden on somebody else. So when I was a student, on my parents, so I never wanted to buy stuff unless I had money of my own to spend. Or if it was my like back in the day when I was a kid, I didn't get pocket money also. I would be getting like Diwali के time पे कोई guests आए, relatives आए, उन्होंने पैसा दिया, birthday के time पे पैसा दिया, वो जितना पैसा बचता था उसको मिला के जाके comics खरीदो या whatever you want to buy, you buy. That's how I went about it. I never thought of asking my father for back in the day also you could get comics, and comics were expensive. I would never think of saying, hey, you know what, I want to buy a 10,000 rupee comic book. Let's go and buy it. No, because that's my passion. It's not my parents' passion. Similarly, nowadays, if sneakers is the hype thing, you got to figure a way out. And that is the one reason I love all these kids who are hustling, who are resellers, who are figuring a way out so that the money is not coming out of their father's pocket, but it's coming out of their pocket. So if you decide, you know what, I want to buy an Air Jordan 1 Travis Scott Fragment collaboration, which is a 1,30,000 rupees sneaker, you figure your way out to make that 1,30,000 rupees doing whatever it is that you need to do so that that money is coming out of your pocket. if you're going to get something from your parents, let there be a legitimate reason for it. You've just graduated and you come, whatever, first in your class and your parents are super happy and they say, "Mango beta, kya chahiye?" Then you say कि यार तभी भी जब मांगोगे यार 1.5 लाख का जूता मत मांगो यार, बोलो एक एयर जॉर्डन 1 ले लीजिए मेरे लिए, रिटेल पे 16,000 में मिल जाएगा, वो तो ठीक है. But if you're going to be asking, if you're going to ask yourself that, I want to buy a 1 lakh rupee sneaker, figure your way out. And there are enough people who are doing that. I love the fact that there are young kids hustling at the age of 16, 17, 18. Most resellers are between the 16 and 25 bracket. Yeah. And there are enough kids who are making 60,000, 70,000, a lakh, 2 lakh rupees a month reselling sneakers. And they're not doing anything illegal. They are figuring a way out. They're hustling. I've always been a hustler. I've always figured. I entered the entertainment industry with zero contacts. My father is not some superstar actor or singer or whatever who introduced me to the entire music industry. But right now I can tell you, I know pretty much everybody in the Bollywood music industry and they know me. They've all come as guests on my show. I figured a way out. I hustled. I figured out contact कहाँ से ढूंढने का, कैसे मिलने का, उनसे कैसे बात करने की. And I figured my way out in my space. If I was 16 right now, I'm 100% sure I would have probably become a reseller. I would have figured, because I would want sneakers and I would never ask my parents for that kind of money. So I would have figured out a way, go stand in the line outside Nike, Adidas, pick up the sneakers at retail, sell them for 2,000 rupees profit, or 2,000 rupees, keep it in your savings, go buy the next sneaker at retail. Maybe wo pehla retail sneaker kharidne ke liye, you can take a loan from your parents. First, when you recover that money, repay that, and then start making profits to the point where you can buy that dream sneaker. Things take time. Watch this series called Sneaker Shopping on Complex. All the rappers who are your favorite rappers right now, they'll all tell you, and when we were kids, we didn't have the money to go out and buy expensive sneakers. We'd get one sneaker in a year that our mom or dad would buy us. But if we wanted expensive sneakers, we had to work for it. They worked over there, and now that work culture is coming to India as well. That's what I love about sneakers, that it's teaching young people, it's teaching kids, in fact, that desire कि यार, if I want to get something, मुझे अगर ये sneaker चाहिए, तो I have to work for it. Please keep that attitude if you want to get into the sneaker game when you're young. When you're older, when you're earning money, again, be responsible about it. Don't go to a point where if you're earning, say, 70,000 rupees in a month, you buy 6 sneakers and you're minus something. Don't go in debt. I always say, whatever you earn, there should be a percentage of that which is your fun money. There's a percentage of that which is your savings, and there's a percentage of that which is into investments. Savings as in like for whatever, ghar ka kaam karna hai, whatever, you pay your rent, your bills, that is separate money. There's an investment money and then there is fun money. So you decide, okay, if I'm making 70,000 rupees a month, I want to keep 20,000 as fun money. You can probably buy one sneaker in that month. If you say, I want to buy a sneaker in June, starting in Jan, you've saved 20, you got 1,20,000 rupees left, go out and buy a big sneaker at that point of time. So whether you're earning or you're a student, make responsible choices and then grow your collection. That's what I always tell people.
अच्छा, इससे मेरा एक और रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है. जैसे जब एडिडास, नाइकी ने आया, इन लोगों ने क्या किया कि स्पोर्ट्स स्टार्स, इन्फ्लुएंसर्स, एक्टर्स, मींस उन लोगों के थ्रू इन्होंने अपनी मार्केटिंग करी, एंड ड्यू टू दैट दे बिकेम पॉपुलर. अब वही सेलिब्रिटीज, क्रिकेटर, बॉक्सर्स, एवरीवन जो भी है, वो लोग ने अपना ब्रांड खोल लिया है.
करेक्ट.
तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि उनका ब्रांड अब किस टाइम पे जाके दे विल बी एबल टू बी कनेक्टेड विद एडिडास, नाइकी, प्यूमा, दिस काइंड ऑफ ब्रांड्स?
बहुत कम ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं जहाँ पे कोई स्पोर्ट्स स्टार जो है उसने अपना ब्रांड खोला है और इट इज ट्राइंग टू कम्पीट विद एन एडिडास और नाइकी. मोस्ट ऑफन क्या होता है कि अगर कोई लेजिटिमेट स्पोर्ट्स स्टार अपने फील्ड में बहुत बड़ा बन जाता है, दे डू अ रिलीज विद a brand like a Nike, Adidas, Puma, New Balance, बहुत सारे अभी brands हैं. So and all of these brands need, like you said, sports people, celebrities to be their faces. जिनके through लोग जिनको देख के लोग बोलेंगे कि यार हमको ये वाला जूता चाहिए. Like if you're a Virat Kohli fan, you probably want to go and buy Puma. If you're a Ranbir Kapoor fan, you know that okay, he wears Jordans a lot, maybe you'll go into Jordans. If you are like you said, if you're a basketball fan, you will see, oh, I like LeBron's sneakers are with Nike, I'm going to buy Nike. Or if you like somebody who's like LaMelo Ball has sneakers with Puma, you'll go out and buy Puma. When you were maybe back in the day, when Yeezys were available, you were a Kanye West fan, you'll go out and buy Kanye West sneakers. There are very few examples of people who've created brands outside of the mainstream brands and made successes out of it. Like if you look at it, even in the Indian space, there are few actors who created their own brands. Like Hrithik Roshan has his brand, but nobody, I can't, or even Salman Khan has his brand. I've never seen those brands spoken about in the same breath as a Nike or an Adidas. Their hardcore fans will buy it, yes, and they are such big superstars and celebrities that they can afford to have their own brand out there. But when you ultimately come down to sneakers, I'm not talking about apparel. Apparel, you can sell it through anybody. Like, I've got some exciting news. Next month, on the 15th of March, when I turn 42, I'm launching my own apparel brand.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, and it's going to be clothes and merchandise for sneakerheads made by a sneakerhead. So hopefully, the designs that we have, you guys will like, and you'll pick it up. And I'm really excited about it. I've done like a soft launch. I've worn a couple of the designs in the past as well. In fact, I have one which I'm going to show you at the end of the episode. It's in my bag over there. I'll show you one hoodie which I bought over here. But yeah, it's going to be launching. So apparel, anybody can do. But with sneakers, I feel that people still want that guarantee that this sneaker that I'm going to buy is not going to explode on my feet, especially if I'm using it for sports. Or even if I want to use it for fashion, there are very few, standalone artists or celebrities who create, like even Kanye West, to make Yeezy happen, he needed Adidas. I'm very curious to see once this whole thing dies off and he says, I want to do it on my own, how successful will his brand be? Will Yeezy be successful by himself? I still feel he will end up collaborating with somebody else to release his future designs that he comes up with.
Even luxury brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, they also collab with this kind of.
Exactly. So they go with Nike or an Adidas because they know that if they're going to create sneakers, they need a reputed brand whose DNA is creating sneakers. You don't, like Louis Vuitton will make their own luxury sneakers. I mean, luxury shoes. Your leather shoes, and your Gucci will make their leather shoes. That's their expertise. The moment they want to get into sports-related sneakers, they will try to collaborate with someone. I think Louis Vuitton is one of the few brands I can think of who, well, not few, there are enough luxury brands who make their own sneakers as well, especially the Louis Vuitton trainers, as they are called, are pretty popular. But most of their most popular sneakers are sneakers that they've done in collaboration with a Nike or an Adidas. So yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, apparel, anybody can do. But sneakers, you need to know that, yeah, it's a legitimate company who's got years of experience making sports shoes, whose sneakers we can go and buy.
Okay, so as we know, February is packed with some amazing releases, like amazing sneaker releases. So are you looking for a sneaker?
I am. So again, going back to my first love in sneaker, which is Air Jordan 1s. The Air Jordan 1 High 85 black and white is going to release, or the Panda Air Jordan 1 as it is called. I want to get that one for sure. It's what, strangely enough, of all the Air Jordan 1s releasing this year, there aren't too many that I'm like crazy about. Like at least in this month, this is the only one. I don't like the elephant print one which is coming out, and I don't like the laney one as well, the yellow and blue one. Though I love yellow, that yellow and blue is just not working for me. So yeah, the one sneaker this month that I'm most excited about is the Air Jordan 1 High black and white 85, and I can't wait to get that. That's actually one of my must-have sneakers for this year. Like I knew that in this calendar year when I saw that this is releasing, because it's an OG colorway from 85. It was one of the colorways that was released back in 1985, and they are retroing it, I think, just for the second time or third time right now. So I'm quite excited. I want to add that to my collection.
Okay. So like there have been many collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
So which one is your favorite collaboration, and what you're thinking कि future में भी ऐसा कुछ नया collaboration हो which doesn't exist now?
So okay, here's what happens. Most often collaboration sneakers, if you don't cop them at retail, they become extremely expensive, especially good collaborations. Like whether it's a Travis Scott, whether it's an Off-White, whether it's a Union, they become extremely expensive. And at the point where I am right now, I do like to have more options. So like I said, I've got 34 Air Jordan 1s. Now I could choose to whittle that down to maybe just 10 pairs either sell off what I have, or maybe when I started buying itself, I could have said, I'm not going to buy these many pairs. I'm going to save all of that money and buy a Travis Fragment one, maybe at $1 lakh. But my brain doesn't work like that. I don't want to do that kind of a spend. I'd much rather have 6 sneakers in that 1 lakh rupees rather than buying that one pair at 1 lakh rupees. That's just how I operate. This is how my brain works. That may not be how you want to do it, and you should do what you love and what you feel comfortable with. For me, the one brand collab that I really liked was the Off-White collaboration with Nike. I mean, that's more than the Travises, more than the Yeezys. My favorite collaboration that I've seen, which again speaks to me as a person, as a collector, is the Off-White collaboration. But again, over there, not every sneaker. There are certain sneakers that I like. I'll give you an example. I came in walking in today with an Off-White Nike Air Force One Mid, which is still pretty much available at retail or just a little over retail. So it's not the most hyped Off-White collaboration, but I loved it and I was able to get it at retail. So I was like, that's it. It's an Off-White collaboration. I like it. I like Air Force Ones. In fact, after Air Jordan Ones, my favorite sneaker probably is the Air Force One. And I absolutely loved it. And if you've not worn that sneaker, don't diss it till you've tried it out. It is a super comfortable sneaker. Like, I can be on my feet all day long and my feet are not going to ache in that Air Force One Mid, which is a collaboration with Off-White. It's one of the actual last designs that Virgil Abloh did before he unfortunately passed away, you know. So I love it. I love the storytelling behind it. I love the fact that it is a legitimate Virgil Abloh design. And I love what the sneaker says about my style as well. So I like Off-White. And in fact, going forward also, if I add something to my collection, it will probably be some Off-White collabs that are there. I'd love to have the original Fragment Air Jordan 1 High, which is kind of the sneaker that started the collaboration ideas between Nike and a fashion brand. So that original Fragment is something that I'd like to have in my collection. And for collaborations that haven't happened, not really thought much about it. Very frankly, that's a simple answer that I can give you. That I've not thought about who could collaborate. Like, I love John Mayer, like I told you, he's one of my favorite artists, and he's a sneakerhead. He's actually done an Air Max collaboration in the past, I think in 2017 or 19. I'd love to see if he came out with a sneaker, I'd probably buy it, and he loves Nikes as well. So if he did a collaboration with Nike. So for collaborations, I genuinely believe it's got to be, you either resonate with the artist or you resonate with with the designs that have happened. For me, for instance, the Travis Scotts were never a desire for me because A, I'm not a huge Travis Scott fan. Okay, his music's nice, but I'm not a huge fan. And B, visually also when I looked at all the sneakers, they didn't speak to me and say that, oh man, I must have them. It never came to a point where I felt like if I don't have a Travis Scott sneaker in my collection is incomplete. I didn't feel that, so I didn't go for it. I like the Union collabs. I think they are fantastic. And I've heard there's a possibility that there may be a proper Air Jordan 1 High Union collab this year. But everybody's debunked it and said that it's not, it's just a mock-up that somebody has made. But if that mock-up comes to life, that's a sneaker that I definitely try to get in my collection.
So as there have been many sneaker events, so which one is your favorite and what you're looking in that kind of events?
I've been to pretty much all of them. Like, I think right now there are 4 major sneaker events that are happening. There's All You Can Street, there's Soul Search, which is doing their sneaking out events. There's the Great Indian Sneaker Festival, and then there was the Main Street sneaker convention that happened in Mumbai. Am I missing any others? I think these are the 4.
There are many.
And then there are smaller events that are happening, but I'm talking about the major. No, I'm not about the pop-up events that are happening at little clubs, which is great, by the way. This is again what I'm saying. It's a great way of connecting with the community. There are small events happening in tiny cities. Like right now, somebody reached out to me saying that we're going to be doing the first sneaker event in Indore. We'd love for you to come. Man, you could be doing a sneaker event in whichever city. Please reach out to me if we can figure a way out. I have a team that manages me. If you can work something out, I'd be more than happy to come to all the other cities where sneaker events are happening. But when we talk about these 4 big events that have happened over the last, say, year and a half, I've actually enjoyed being at every one. But I think my favorite right now of all the events that I've been to, I'm going to pick 2. One was All You Can Street that happened in Mumbai, which was huge. The scale of the event was colossal, and I had the pleasure of hosting panels on both days. On the first day, we did a streetwear panel, and the second day, we did a sneaker panel. So that was fun because I was actually involved with the event in a way. And the second event, which I really loved, was the Great Indian Sneaker Festival that just happened last month in Delhi. I was there and I saw the scale. Again, the scale of that event was massive, colossal, and I had a great time over there as well. That being said, I want to give a big shout out to Sneaking Out as well. They've been consistently doing events all across the country. They've been phenomenal. I love their event that happened in Mumbai. One of the greatest joys of my life is that I get to share my love for sneakers with my son. He's just 4 years old. And his first sneaker event was a Sneaking Out that happened at Rasta in Mumbai, and he had such a great time. And all the guys from Soul Search were so sweet to him. All the resellers were so sweet to him, and he had the most amazing time. So I'll never forget that event as well, Sneaking Out. And like I said, I want to give a massive shout out to Main Street. There's a lot of stuff that people talk about them, but again, I see them focusing on the positives and doing their own thing. They have their own strategy. They have their own way of doing things. And full power to them for that. They're following their own heart and they're doing their own thing. And their event that happened in Mumbai, and a humongous wall of sneakers that they made. Man, that was just such a joy to walk into that studio in Mumbai and see a massive wall with, I think there was some 4,000 sneakers there.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So you know what? Big props to all the 4 guys, the big guys making their sneaker events happen. You guys are doing a great job. Keep making it bigger and better. And, I'm going to be there whenever you guys do an event and you call me. I'm going to be there for those events. So, yeah.
So basically, how do you feel when people look up to you? As in your love for sneakers, you're into music, you're into so many things. How do you feel about that?
I take it very seriously and I take that responsibility very seriously. What I mean by that is I recognize the fact that I'm one of the few people who's lucky कि मुझे जो पसंद आया है, जिससे मैंने बहुत प्यार किया है, उसको मैंने मेरे करियर में कन्वर्ट किया है. And I get to do that for a living. So I never take that for granted to begin with. And I never take the love that I've got from people for granted. Even when I was a radio jockey, just starting out, 1-2 साल में ही I knew I had a fan base, people who were listening to my radio shows on a regular basis, remembering कि इस दिन मिहिर जोशी आने वाला है, and उसका show हमको सुनना है. Even today when I go into a sneaker event and a lot of young sneaker collectors will come up and say, hey, we love your content, can we take a selfie with you? All of those things, or I never take that for granted. I make it a point to give back in whatever way I can. The Sneakerverse, for instance, was one way of me giving back to the community of sneakerheads, sneaker sellers, and collectors. My way of, I answer every question that comes to me there. A lot of new collectors ask me a question. Sometimes they think maybe it's not me, maybe it's some intern. There's no intern. Sneakerverse is mine. I handle it. Maybe someday if I get super busy, I'll find somebody to help me with that. Right now, every answer you get on the Sneakerverse is actually from me. I make it a point. If you're asking me a legitimate question, I'll give you an answer. If you're going to be snarky with me or if you're going to be stupid with me, I don't even entertain those. So I don't get into the negativity. Like if somebody says something mean to me, I just delete that comment. I don't have time. Negative sentiments में जाने का time नहीं है मेरे पास. But anybody who asks me a legitimate question, I answer them. And it's not just for sneakers. I did that back in the day when I was a radio jockey. Wrestling के बारे में अगर किसी ने मुझे कभी सवाल पूछा, what do you feel about this? If it's a legitimate question, I answer them. Because it's because of the love of those people that I get to do what I do. Of course, I would continue doing it even if they didn't love me, but then it wouldn't be fun. Because, I know that there are enough people who like what I'm doing, who look up to me. Like, when I say I'm a WWE commentator, I know that there are hundreds and thousands of people watching WWE in Hindi. And it's my voice that they are going to hear. And when they, maybe when 20 years down the line, when they remember, yaar, main jab teenager tha, jab main young tha, and I used to watch WWE in Hindi, my voice was Mihir Joshi. Like how I say when I was growing up, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were the voices of WWE for me. In my ears, I still hear their voice when I think about WWE. I know that my voice and the voice of my friends who are commentators are going to be in the heads of people years from now. So I take that responsibility seriously, and it's because of the love that they've given me that I get to do what I do. So I make it a point that whenever I get an opportunity to interact with a fan or somebody who's liked or supported my work, I give back as much as I can, my time, because that's what I can give. I can't give more than that, but I can give my time. I can answer people. I can be nice. If somebody asks me for a picture, I'm not like a Bollywood actor that, I can't walk down the street and everybody's asking me. But once in a while, if somebody does ask me for a selfie or whatever, I'm more than happy to do it. It's important for anybody because nowadays, I've never thought of myself as an influencer. I've thought of myself as a content creator. And because of the work that I have done, I have influence. There's a difference. You know what I mean? Influencers think, okay, if I wear clothes, look good, look pretty, make content, get a lot of followers, I'm an influencer. Yes, that's a legitimate business today. But I have never thought that because I wear good shoes and wear good clothes, I'm an influencer. I feel that I do a lot of things, whether it's my music, my content creation for sneakers, my ability to talk, which makes me credible, and that's why I can influence people. You take me seriously if I tell you that Jordan 1s are good. You don't take it because I look good with a Jordan 1 on my foot and that my clothes look great, or that I take my shirt off and I have a six-pack. I don't. But it's not because of that you buy something that I tell you to. You buy it because you think, oh, Mihir Joshi makes sense. He's got enough time and effort that he's researched what he's talking about, and when he says that this is a good pair, I think it's worth buying. That's my influence. My influence is not that, hey, look, I know what styling to do, I look really good, the sneaker looks good on my foot, therefore buy it. No, I'll tell you a reason to buy it. That's my way of influencing people. So whatever it is, in whatever way I've communicated with fans or people, I take that responsibility seriously. It's not just random. Even brand collaborations that I do, where I get paid to do an ad of some sort on social media, I take those responsibilities seriously as well. Because if I tell you that, hey, I drink this drink, I don't want to tell you that unless I actually drink it. For instance, I don't drink alcohol. Okay, I've never started. I'm one of those few rock musicians who doesn't drink any alcohol. If you go through my entire social media, there's never been a post where I promoted alcohol, because I don't believe in that. So I'm not going to promote that, even if alcohol brands will pay me for it. What I have done with alcohol brands is I have actually done collaborations about a product of theirs or an event of theirs. So for instance, if it is, say, Budweiser, and they have a massive music event, I'll tell them, I'll come and talk about your music. Who were the performers who were performing there? What was the event like? How was it done? But I won't say that, hey, here's a Budweiser in my hand, but I'm not going to be drinking it. So I don't promote that. Again, I've got nothing against people who drink. I'm the most less judgmental person that you'll find. You want to drink, you do what you want to do. But this is how I live my life. So I take my decisions seriously, and I take my responsibilities towards my audience seriously. And that's how I've gone about it all of my life, and I think this is how I'll continue doing it in the future as well. Give back to the people who care about what I do.
So according to you, means like अभी Nike और Adidas है sneakers में top. In last means
Nike is at the top
top,
in my opinion. Yeah.
तो फ्यूचर में ऐसा कौन सा ऐसा ब्रांड है जो उस लेवल पे जा सकता है, मींस 5 years later or 10 years later?
Legitimately, I don't see that changing. I don't see Nike losing their crown. It's always going to be Nike and Adidas as number 1 and 2. वो हमेशा था और वो हमेशा रहेगा. But one of the brands which I see which is really gaining a lot of traction, which a lot of people are loving, and I see a lot of people gravitating towards it because it's also comfortable and it looks good, is New Balance. So I think New Balance has been making some great strides into the sneaker market, not just here in India, but abroad as well. Incredibly enough, Crocs has been doing some amazing things right now, and especially the Salehi Bembury Crocs. Yeah. They reignited people's passion towards buying Crocs. Nobody ever thought of Crocs and said, oh wow, that could be fashion footwear. But Salehi Bembury, like a great collaboration, can do that. Him coming on and doing that with Crocs, or him doing collaborations with New Balance, have brought so much interest into both of these brands, and other people also. New Balance has done collaborations with so many other guys. They look good, they feel good, they look like they're comfortable sneakers with great materials. I think these brands are all going to do well. Even Asics, I love Asics, man. I think one of my most comfortable shoes, and which looks good, is the Asics Gel Light 3 collaboration that they've done with a brand called Concepts, the ones who've been doing all your dunks, the lobster dunks that I've, the orange ones that came out and the multiple ones that came before that. So Concept's collaboration with ASICS was a shoe called Otoro, which again was a food-based shoe. As they love their food-based shoes. I can see they like their lobsters. And Otoro is basically a particular cut of tuna, which is very famous in sushi. So using that concept and those colorways, they made this shoe called the ASICS Gel Light 3 Otoro, which is so comfortable. So ASICS is another brand that is catching a lot of heat right now. People are checking them out, liking their collaborations. Onitsuka Tiger, which is a part of that ASICS brand, I think is phenomenal. I love Onitsuka Tiger shoes as well. And again, with getting a brand ambassador like Tiger Shroff, they're penetrating the Indian market. But see, you know what? This is the future. You use Indian Bollywood celebrities, you use Indian cricketers. For the Indian youth, they're going to be the biggest influencers. And now, Indian hip-hop artists. So in India, the three things that sell for a fact right now are Bollywood, cricket and hip-hop. So if you can use those 3 tent poles as your marketing strategy and then use the right kind of influencers, you can reach the massive Indian youth market which is there. And I think a lot of brands are beginning to do that. So it's a big thing. I don't see anybody toppling Nike from the top, very frankly, Nike or Adidas. But there are a lot of brands who are definitely in the conversation for, oh, I like this too. And there are a lot of those loyalists who will be like, yeah, मुझको Nike और Adidas अच्छा नहीं लगता, मैं तो सिर्फ New Balance खरीदता हूँ. That kind of thing.
जैसे आपने अभी बोला कि इंडियन मार्केट को कैप्चर करने के लिए इंडियन आर्टिस्ट की जरूरत है, तो इन फ्यूचर यू थिंक कि नाइकी जैसे ट्रैविस वगैरह के संग कोलैब किया है, कोई इंडियन आर्टिस्ट ऐसा होगा जिसके संग वो कोलैब करके उस मार्केट को कैप्चर वर्ल्ड वाइड दे पाएगा?
इट इज इनएविटेबल, होने ही वाला है. द पॉइंट इज अबाउट, सो लाइक आई कैन easily imagine, like at that global scale की अगर बात करें तो look at Shah Rukh Khan's presence. Okay, there's nobody in the world right now, like even just the success right now, Pathaan. When everybody was trying to bring it down, people were trying to do the whole boycott Pathaan. तो एक fad हो गया है.
वो तो अभी
but he kept quiet. Okay, he kept quiet through everything. He just let his work speak for itself. I watched the movie yesterday. It's a full masala fun movie. It's like watching Mission Impossible done in with Indian superstars. I think he's amazing, and I can definitely see a brand, like even if it's not say a Nike, I can definitely see some brand saying that, hey, you know what? Let's leverage on Shah Rukh Khan's popularity and do a collaboration with him.
Like Ranveer Singh is also doing all, and he's been to NBA games and all, and he massively
is the face of Adidas in India. Why would a brand like Adidas say that, while there are cricketers and this and that, the man to be our face is Ranveer Singh? Because that guy is a live wire, man. He is so good at what he does. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the 30th anniversary of the Premier League that happened. He is legitimately all that. Like what you see on social media and his posts, that's not fake. He is that level of energy. And I can 100% see Adidas wanting to do a Ranveer Singh collab in India.
And it can go global because he has been to many games and all, and he's promoting.
Correct.
Now globally people is knowing Ranveer Singh for his style and everything.
Correct. But that's my point is also this, that our country in itself is so massive. We are equivalent of the whole of Europe. अभी पॉपुलेशन की बात करें, पूरे यूरोप की पॉपुलेशन इंडिया की उतनी नहीं है यार. पूरे तुम साउथ अमेरिका की पॉपुलेशन पकड़ो या नॉर्थ अमेरिका की पॉपुलेशन पकड़ो, that's not as much as India. So honestly speaking, if a brand decides to go all in with an Indian celebrity, they don't even need to worry about whether he is popular in America or not. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? अरे इंडिया में उसका इतना सेल्स होगा कि they don't care about the US market. But that being said, somebody like a Ranveer Singh, somebody like a Shah Rukh Khan, they have international, popularity as well. In so many, like I can imagine hundreds and thousands of, the people, Indians living in the US would lose their mind if a Shah Rukh Khan sneaker came out. Like it would be like the ultimate thing for fans all across the world who love what he's doing. It is not necessary that every white person over there should want to buy a Shah Rukh Khan sneaker. मैं सोचो यार, कनाडा में ही बात करो तो कितने सारे इंडियन लोग हैं, वो लोग सब खरीदेंगे. For instance, giving you an example, J Balvin is a superstar in South America. He's big enough all across the world. But यार इंडिया में अगर तुम अपने रास्तों पे जाके पूछोगे कि भाई तुमको J Balvin के गाने मालूम है, but he's done a collaboration with Nike and his sneaker was sold, it sold out really well. The first one at least, Jordan 2 is still available in certain sizes, I think, on the Nike app. My point is, J Balvin के अगर आप कर सकते हो, there is no reason why in the future आप डिवाइन के साथ नहीं कर सकते हो, आप बादशाह के साथ नहीं कर सकते हो. यार बादशाह का इंडिया का पॉपुलैरिटी जितना है और इंडिया की जितनी ऑडियंस है, आई एम श्योर बादशाह हैज मोर फैंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ नंबर्स देन जे बैल्विन हैज. I'm saying a controversial statement. Prove me wrong. अगर आपने prove किया wrong ना, वो नंबर थोड़ा 19-20 का फर्क पड़ेगा. I'm telling you, Badshah probably has as many fans, or say a Divine or a Raftaar will have as many fans as some of the top hip hop artists in that country. Because I'm talking about the number game. Number game की बात करें तो इंडिया में जितने numbers हैं, you can't compete. Like the whole population of Mumbai ka population is more than the population of certain countries in Europe. So my point is, we've got the stars, we've got the people, and it will come to that point. Right now, we are reaching that point. Ranveer Singh is the forerunner in that game right now, where you know that he's the guy who a sneaker brand is associated with. I can see that happening with so many other guys. Like I know for a fact that there are so many Indian Bollywood actors and actresses who have now become sneakerheads, who've got great collection. Like Ranveer Singh, he's got a great sneaker collection, and he's been plugging in his movies way before sneaker culture as a concept started off in India. Like even in his earlier films, people have spotted like, oh, he was wearing a Jordan 1, oh, he was wearing an Off-White, he was wearing this, he was wearing that. So I see that it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But if forget the Bollywood stuff, I mean, even look at our southern film industry. The success of RRR, KGF, so many films that have done so well all across the globe. Kantara. I'm telling you, you don't need collaborations to work all across the world. You can have localized collaborations as well, which will sell out. Like imagine if you had some of these, like these actors in the South, they are almost worshipped like gods. यार जो उनका fan following है उतना तो बॉलीवुड में भी नहीं है. किसी भी लेवल का fan following अगर पूजा करते हैं यार. मैं वही बता रहा हूँ, साउथ के जो फैंस हैं वो इतने हार्डकोर फैंस हैं. इमेजिन इफ नाइकी टैप्ड इनटू दैट एंड दे डिड लाइक a Kantara inspired.
जैसे जब आपने बोला तो मेरे को लगा अगर Nike into RRR करते तो वो तो massive अलग ही चला.
Sell out more than anything else. Like जिस दिन drop होगा, and I'm not talking about only in India. RRR के fans तो दुनिया भर में है यार. कांतारा के बारे में बात करें तो उसके जो stories मैंने सुने हैं, people were worshipping in the theaters where they were shown in other countries because it was such a visceral and great experience for them. मैं बता रहा हूँ, it is going to be that way. Like, I'll give you the best example. Code और JP जो Japanese collaboration था, that was primarily done only for the Japanese market. जिसमें से अभी भी जो दो रेट्रोज रिलीज किए थे, the Silver Code और JP and the Midnight Navy, they were originally released in 2001 and were primarily done only for the Japanese market. But because the sneakers were good, people who were living in the US, people who were living in London and UK, they all wanted that. They wanted to figure out, how do I get one of those limited pairs? When it re-released right now, worldwide, this sold out. Midnight Navy and Silver, Tokyo Code or JP sneakers hai. But it began as a localized Japan-only collaboration. I don't see any reason why there can't be a code out in India South or a code out Bollywood collaboration. Like Nike or Adidas just need to think in that direction and say, man, there is a massive amount of money sitting on the table right now which we are not making because we are not doing these collabs. The moment they start doing those collabs, it's going to explode, man. It's going to be next level marketing because that's the way to do it. Like once you see the success, the kind of money that these movies are making, you add merchandise to it, it's gonna sell.
So sir, as you've been into RJ, then fashion industry, commentary and sneakerhead, everything, what is your definition for fashion?
Something that legitimately makes you feel you. I've been styling sneakers now for about 2 years, creating content around that. I don't wear baggy pants. That's one of the things these days, right? People love wearing baggy pants and superbly oversized t-shirts. I try to be me no matter what. I will wear a slightly oversized t-shirt once in a while because I like the materials or whatever. But I've still, if you see me the way I'm dressed right now, when I was a rock singer, I would still dress like this. The only difference is now I've got great sneakers along with my black shirt and black pant. Or even if I wear something else, it still falls under the category of, oh, we can see me and Joshi wearing that. I've never tried to be something that I'm not. So fashion is a very individual thing. Yes, there are trends, but at the end of the day, you need to know what works for you and make that your style. And if you can do that, and you can do that consistently enough, people will identify you as a fashion icon in your own sense. You don't need to be like somebody else. I don't need to be fashionable like XYZ to be a fashionable person. I know I have my own identity. I know I have my own style. And there are enough people who will identify and like my style. And if you don't like my style, that's perfectly cool too. But I'm comfortable being me. So I think most important thing about fashion is it's got to be you. It's got to be an extension of your personality. That's my answer.
Thank you, Mihir. It was nice to have you.
I was very happy to be here. We spoke long conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed that too. About everything from my journey to my sneakers to fashion, style, and all sorts of things in between. I want to wish both of you and the entire team here all the very best with this podcast series, and everybody watching right now, please follow them on all social media. I'm sure all the information will be given in the description, and listen to the podcast on all streaming platforms that you listen to it, and share it with everybody. I always say that when I talk about the MJ show, share good content with other people so that you decide if this is good or not. And if you think it is good, share it with everybody so that they get to know more about the podcast and about, well, in this case, my journey as well. Thank you so much.